We are going to talk about the truth of The Last of Us 2. The Last of Us Part 2 has had a lot of grief, but I'm going to speak the absolute honest truth about this game. Now in this video I want you to try and figure out if I'm loving the game or hating the game by the way I'm describing what the truth of The Last of Us Part 2 is. Now this is not a review. When people put reviews on the game channel, they need to be professional when reviewing a game. So when I look at reviews, I look at the professionals such as IGN and other gaming companies that review these type of games. I look what score they give them and see what are the main key points, and from a public view I try and look at why people actually hated this game. So just to be clear, this is my opinion about the game, the truth about the game, putting everything all together, what everyone thinks. Also a warning for everyone, there will be spoilers in this video. I can't actually talk about this game with actually saying some spoilers because I don't want this whole video to be in riddles trying to describe certain something or scene and you're kind of a bit lost where I'm talking about. So if you don't want to know what happens in the game, you haven't played it, I'll suggest you stop now. Now within The Last of Us Part 1, we fall in love with two characters, Joel and Ellie. And the reason why we do fall in love with these two characters in the first Last of Us is how they find light within dark. It looks like the world's at come to an end, the world's grim, dark, but Ellie and Joel, for all their battles, you see them grow stronger together to achieve their goal. And I think what we all loved about the first one is how they connected as characters through dialogue. Now after finishing the first Last of Us, that probably comes under one of the greatest games I've ever played. Now, as I've recently completed The Last of Us 2, and which I'm going to say is a very long game, you will most definitely get your money's worth when playing this. So if you've got a lot of time to spare and you want to play a game that's going to last you a while, this is ideally for you. But going back to the subject about the truth of The Last of Us 2. Now at first I loved how the game was set in the scene and a bit confused when new characters were added and I wasn't too sure who they were. And me, like others, when playing games and we have new characters, we kind of don't like change. So when you play as a different character in the game at the start, you don't actually know about this person. You're kind of playing out what they're looking for in a very high tense gameplay. So at first I wasn't too sure when playing as Ellie and Abby at the start of what I'd think about the game. Then came probably one of the biggest moments within The Last of Us Part 2. Once you've played as Abby, you discover that Abby wants to kill Joel. And as we all know, big spoilers, Joel gets brutally murdered by Abby with a golf club.
Please stop! Please don't shoot! Joel, please get up! No!
As much as this is a disturbing scene to watch, you kind of got upset how Joel was murdered by Abby, as it was very quick. You didn't play as the characters Joel, and you thought Joel kind of deserved better from the game developers. So at first my thoughts on the game was a bit upsetting that I couldn't play as Joel. Joel didn't die in the way that I probably wanted to let him die. Ellie didn't say a proper goodbye to him or at least fought for him. And I played as a new character which I wasn't sure about, and the new character killed my favourite character. So as a gamer, as a loyal Last of Us gamer, you can feel really upset. Then come to the part where I loved about the game. Then the game really kicked off, learning about new characters that Ellie is in connection to, which is great storytelling, and a complete revenge story for Joel to kill Abby. Now I don't have to tell you how visually the game is brilliant. It's probably one of the most best looking games I've ever played. It has great mechanics, gameplay, you name it, it's in this game. And especially the new type of enemies that we have and the AI that they have, that you really feel that these people are real, they connect to each other when fighting you by calling each other's names, and how they try and deal with you when they know your position. The infected are scary as usual, from the runners, clickers, bloaters, other types of creatures. It's all here and it is very scary and so on edge of your seat gameplay. And this is what I loved about The Last of Us Naughty Dog. I knew they could perform and bring out a brilliant game, something that I'm hooked on all the time. Want to get to the next mission, try and get as close as I can towards killing Abby. Now, yes, it did take a good amount of time to get to a certain area, such as the aquarium for Abby, which I enjoyed, but you thought went on a bit long. But thinking back, it was a really enjoyable experience each stage of the game. And what I loved about the game is how it made you feel. You wanted to explore the world once you've executed all the enemies within the area. You wanted to go and see the best views, the landscapes, the buildings, and it made you feel when you was inside a building that it was lived in. And that's what Naughty Dog is so good at, is making you feel part of this world. And from the beginning with Ellie learning about a story and with flashbacks, I actually didn't like the flashbacks at first, but then I did enjoy the flashbacks with Joel. The great storytelling, just making you feel back to The Last of Us Part 1. Now eventually when you did get to the aquarium and Ellie discovers that Abby's not there and she kills 2 people, and you're like, well, okay, you've killed them, one's pregnant, and that's quite disturbing, and you can see how it's affected Ellie. And you're back to the cinema or the showcase area, and you can try and thinking, okay, what's the next part of the game? I've done that much work to get to this aquarium. I actually just want to get to the last part now and kill Abby. I thought I actually nearly finished the game when I got to the aquarium. Then Abby came to us, and for me, I thought it was the final part of the game, the final scene. I spent long enough to get to the aquarium, but Abby came to us, obviously angry because we killed her friends. And this is where the game was quite decisive for a lot of people. Once the game cut off and went to Abby's story, this is where at first I got so frustrated. Firstly, I didn't know why I was playing as Abby. Why did I need to play as the enemy? I didn't know. Secondly, what's really frustrated me at the time was I realised after even Googling this, I had another 12 to 15 hours of gameplay. So I discovered that I was going to play from Abby, and especially when opening Abby's backpack, when you could upgrade the character, I realised that I had to play as just Abby for the last part of the game. And this really frustrated me at first, because after all that work it took me to get to Abby, upgrading Ellie, all the battles that I've done, it felt like at first it was worth nothing, and I've got to do all over again. And I was quite skeptical why I have to play as the enemy. Why do I want to learn about the enemy? Because I'm loyal to Joel and Ellie. I want to get rid of Abby and revenge Joel. And why have I got to learn about this character? And this is where I was wrong. The gameplay with Abby was fantastic with all of the battle scenes. Abby's story was, in my opinion, probably better than Joel and Ellie. All these characters you killed in the game as Ellie, you got to know them from Abby's side, and I connected with them. I felt sorry as soon as I realised, oh, actually I've killed this character. You find out that the enemy is actually all not that bad. In fact, you actually try and question, was Ellie and Joel the enemy? Because what you found out with the game is Joel's past and what Joel actually did to Abby's father. And you can completely understand why Abby killed Joel. Maybe not in the way that she did, but you can understand why she wanted to revenge her father. Because all of us would do the same. Now, a lot of people didn't like about the game that how dark it was. It didn't show enough light. Now, my argument with that is there isn't much light within this world, especially as the world goes on. There are different types of people, different types of factions, and everyone has to survive their own way. Even how dark of the actions you must do, you must try and survive and get the thing that you need. And I understood that. As much as it was a dark and graphic game compared to the first one, I think it was really needed within The Last of Us. Because what The Last of Us does, it makes you go on an emotional roller coaster, connecting with characters, then losing them in a way that you feel like you've actually known that person in real life. And understanding the person you're playing, such as Abby or Ellie, you understand how they feel and you connect them with what actions they do. And how I want to summarise really this game is, you're not buying a video game, you're buying practically a movie which you are featured in. As what this game does the best is, compared to other games, it makes you empathize and sympathize with characters and people within the game. Not many games do that for me. I play a game, yes, it has a bit of a good story mode, but once I played The Last of Us 2, I knew it was an experience I'll remember for a very long time. It felt like I was constantly reading a book that I was addicted to. I constantly wanted to get to the next chapter, and it was just overall an experience you can't explain unless you've played it. As I repeat, it didn't feel like I was playing a game. It felt like I was in this type of Hollywood movie scene. I felt like I was within the game itself, and I connected with everything from the environment, characters, and my decisions, how I approach the game. And it comes to the ultimate question: which is better, The Last of Us Part 1 or Part 2? And that all depends what you want from a game. My personal opinion was, well, it's difficult because midway through I hated the game. I got to the end, then I've never felt such a love for a game. The Last of Us Part 2 may become one of the greatest games I've played. Of the story, gameplay, the feel, everything was there. I felt I was so connected to the game, and as I mentioned, not many games do that. Yes, some games are great, but won't make you have a feeling like this game did. And to answer many people's questions is this is the problem. Fanboys will just love the game that much, of the characters, and still won't be to this day happy about Joel and how he died. But at the end of the day, that's part of life within this game. You have to accept some things are not going to be fair. People are going to die in these type of ways, or even worse, and the game is grim, the game is dark, and you need to accept what world you're living in when playing in this. You can't expect everything to be a fairy tale and happy holding hands. It is a dark world which you are in, and every time I killed a character, I actually felt there was a story behind every character, that they had family, that they had friends, a great storyline, or they didn't mean to be there, they didn't want to kill you, that's just their duty. Because after playing as Ellie, or mainly playing as Abby, is that there's a reason behind everything. And yes, this game is a completely eye for eye, a revenge story, but to me it's more than that. It's understanding people, characters, and their environment, and everyone's different, and people are probably not going to like this. Joel and Ellie probably were the bad guys in The Last of Us, and this is part 1 and part 2. Joel should have probably let the procedure happen, and there would have been a cure, and lots of people would have saved their lives. In The Last of Us Part 2, Ellie didn't have to kill that many people just to get to one person. If you look at it as a big picture, who is the greatest enemy? So guys, I will leave it there. I want you to write in your comments below what you thought of the game, and I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you don't hate it too much, and this is the honest truth about the game, which we all need to understand. There are always going to be haters, but I feel people play the game and don't actually think what the game was actually about. They just looked at the experience of a game playing and not actually connected with the game. So thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.